Hi, everyone. Welcome to M2 Technologies Manufacturing Power Hour. We're going to give folks a few more minutes to join. So we're going to be starting about 2 or 3 minutes after the hour. So just sit tight. Thank you. For folks just joining us, welcome to M2 Technologies Manufacturing Power Hour. I'm just going to give everyone like another minute or so to hop on before we get started. Thank you. All right, everyone, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome once again to M2 Technologies Manufacturing Power Hour. Today's focus is on what's new in Inventor 2021, Part 2. My name is Jasenia. I am on the events team here at M2 Technologies. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please make sure you're typing them in the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel, not in the chat panel. Or not in the chat box. Also, a recorded version of this webinar will be available on our website and YouTube channel within a couple of days. So you'll be receiving an email with a link when that's available. And before we jump into the webinar, I just want to introduce M2 Technologies to you all. So M2 Technologies is a consulting firm focused on productivity, improving manufacturing process efficiency, and reducing manufacturing costs. Our mission is simple: to help manufacturers design better products and increase market share by leveraging the industry-leading engineering, design, process automation, and data management technologies. Using generative design and best-in-class manufacturing and asset management processes, our team of industry experts can help you become more sustainable, more profitable, and more prepared to meet the demands of urbanization in a rapidly changing world. We're committed to helping clients realize the business benefits of BIM and asset management quickly and economically by facilitating the use of innovative technologies and processes. Whether it's streamlining your product design, maximizing asset longevity, or optimizing your processes, our team is one of the most experienced groups of manufacturing technology consulting professionals. We partner with world leaders such as Autodesk, Panzura, and Bluebeam to utilize innovative technologies and methodologies to empower sustainable manufacturing and overcome local challenges. Our vision is to reduce the environmental impact of urbanization by helping the manufacturing industry to design, produce, and operate better projects more efficiently. To help support the industry with these demands, we offer a wide range of services, including BIM for manufacturing, software development, strategic planning, process consulting, and much, much more. Now, Don Warner is going to jump on to take you through today's webinar. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jess, for that great introduction. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for this hour. What I'd like to do is go through and explain some of the improvements to the Inventor 2021 release. A couple weeks ago, we spoke about part one, getting some of the non-core essentials spoken to, and what this one is going to mostly be on is the next, go to the next slide. The agenda will be the part modeling updates. We'll talk about the assembly modeling updates, drawing creation updates, and frame generator updates. Some of the main so to speak, components of Inventor. One of the things that I really don't have a slide on that I'd just like to talk briefly about is basically the release has been out now for about 3 months, and the I guess surprising aspect of my job is I am mostly responsible for handling the incoming calls that come in, the support requests. And one of the things that I've noticed in this release is that we have not had any performance or stability cases come in on this release. It's quite a pleasant surprise. And Autodesk has made a conscious effort to improve the performance and stability of these products. And as year over year, the releases are coming down, I'm seeing great improvement in that area. And hopefully, if you haven't had the time to download 2021 and put it in some type of a trial or test mode, I strongly recommend doing that and comparing benchmarks between the release that you're using and the release of 2021. I think you'll find a pleasant surprise in the performance aspects. So I'll go ahead and first talk about the part modeling improvements. There's several things that they've done, and I'll talk to each slide and give you an overview of the improvements in each of those areas. The first one is something that allows you to select features and faces of parts, and also the assembly environment. The screenshots here actually are showing the assembly environment, but they apply to the part modeling environment also. Again, not sure how much of you use this, but if you were to set an override to a face or a body, what happened in the past was that it was a little bit clunky. Once you selected a part, it deselected when you selected another one. What they've done here is they've improved the crossing and window selection to basically eliminate clicks on setting multiple objects. And I'll move on to the next slide. What's going to be explained about here is the extended name and the browsers. The browser nodes, the part modeling, the assembly modeling. What the nodes are, you can kind of see on the left side is one that's not showing the nodes, and on the right side it is showing the nodes. And what's nice about this is they've extended the information to the work features. So now you can actually turn these this tool on, the information, and it will actually show you the information. And on these two work planes that you see here, they're offsetted from each side in, and gives you that information, which you may find useful. And again, you can simply turn this on or off from the three little striped signs right next to the little search window that's at the top of the browser. And if there's time, I'll quickly show you this. The next thing that the Inventor team did was they extended the unwrap command. The issues with what happened in 2020 is when you use the unwrapped tool, it only allowed you to select one rigid edge, and whether it was complaint or, again, it came in from the wish list or the Inventor Ideas forum. It was the request to have multiple edges selected, and the reason for this is if you had a series of holes that were on a surface, the 2020 command only allowed you to select one of them. And in the video that I'll be able to show you here, it shows how you can select multiple edges and how the part will unwrap around those. And I'll move on to the next slide. And this is the 3D Annotate tool. In the past, did not allow you to tag custom model property information. What it will allow you to do is basically very much like the 2D leader tool that you would see in the drawing information area. It's pretty much the same. You attach the leader to a surface or a face, wherever it may be, and then from the leader note information, you can start to drop in parameters for in the back end. You can tie in this model information that will basically allow you to be exported. The information that this is useful to is basically on the next slide is the JT file format. What this allows you to do is basically put on your geometric tolerance, put on your leader notes, basically your manufacturing information to the part. What was done here in the past was that they've increased the versions that you can save to, and the format, I believe, is 10.2, it might be 10.3 or higher, will allow you to have the ability to check off. It's a little bit hard to read on the screen on the left, but you'll see under the objects to export, in that dialog box, there's a check mark on product manufacturing information, and this is the geometric tolerancing and all your 3D annotations that you put on this, and you export it to JT. That information does expand with it. So that's pretty much it with the part information that they've added. And what I'd like to do is go ahead and just show you a quick 2-minute video on that. So here it is. All right, and hopefully that was a little bit more informative. There was a segment there. Due to time constraints, I did not talk about the extended flange, but for those of you who are working in the sheet metal environment, that is a nice feature. It allows you to, as you saw on the video, highlight a reference plane to extend to. Again, new feature came out of the ideas forum, very useful for the sheet metal environment. And what I'd like to do now is just talk about the assembly modeling improvement and some nice things here that have come along from the QA and dev team. The ability to set pre-named file options or naming options for your three areas of the assembly environment: the frame generator, the tube and pipe, and the mirror and copy component command inside the assembly environment. The nice thing about these dialog boxes that it will allow you to preset names. So whenever you start a assembly file and you were to go into any of these areas to start working, these preset names allow you to quickly generate information without having to constantly be typing in the names that you want. And a little bit more kind of expanding on the areas that you have. If you look at your frame generator information, it allows you to not only control the file name over on the left area, and this allows you to name obviously the frame component, the top level of the frame, allows you to name the skeletal model, which is the whether you use a surface model or whether you use a sketched entity, allows you to select the lines which those frame members are going to go ahead and be applied to. There's also fillet and component names that you can make changes. There's also display name, and then what do you want to have this information look in the browser? So you can have it being read in the browser as one name, and then you have the file name as a different value. And there's also a switch in the upper right on that dialog box. Again, it's kind of tiny to see, but it says use the file name as the display name. So again, it gives you a little bit more consistency there. Same approach with the tube and pipe. This has a lot more components to it. I don't know how many of you have worked in the tube and pipe module of Inventor, but you can do the route names and the segment names, and if you had any type of a sweep segment in there, along with elbows, flexible hose, that gives you a lot of information to choose from. The little plus signs that are next to each one of these values of these allow you to go ahead and choose pre-mapped parameters. So you could get project information and tie that right in. So if the project information was something of value to you, obviously you could tie it right into these names. The next segment here is the bolted connection. There was requests coming from the ideas forum of how customers not necessarily wanted a sub-assembly in a way created for each bolted connection. What the Inventor team has done is given you a little icon in the upper right dialog box. I know it's hard to see, but there's a little like a tree. It allows you to push it in, push it out. If it's highlighted, its structure is on. If you deselect it, it becomes unhighlighted, the structure is off. And what it will do is it will basically, if you look at the dialog box there in the lower left, it actually sets the structure in a straight part by part. It allows for a little bit of flexibility. You can, in the video, you'll see the creation of a folder called Content Center, and the person will go ahead and highlight all these files and drag them into that folder. If that's something that is appealing to your workflow, it's very easily to do. A lot of concern was whether this was in fact a bolted connection, and it still is. The icon that you would need to edit to get to the design accelerator, the bolted connection information, would be the bolt. You can see in the dialog box there that it is the head socket head cap screw. If you were to right click on that part, you would actually have the edit from the design accelerators. If you were to do that on the washers or the nut, it does not give you that option. So nice feature. It again allows you to basically break these all out, stuff them in a folder if that's what you wanted. Again, trying to give you some flexibility of how these are inserted. The next area really is tube and pipe. They not necessarily have really made any improvements to the workflow. I mean, the performance is faster, but as far as what actually they did was they broke out and created a properties palette. So whenever you went into the tube and pipe route area, it would launch a dialog box. It was at times hard. You probably had to move the dialog box around in different areas on the display screen so it wouldn't kind of overlap on your model work. Got a little tedious, and what allowed the flexibility here is you can actually dock this window into the browser. You can see that in the left dialog box. What's nice about this, it's a properties box, like how to explain this in part one. The tube and pipe will allow you to stay in the route. You are able to make multiple routes in here without having to exit the command and go back in like it did in previous releases to create the second route. So again, a little bit faster. The clicks and picks are more smoother to help you fast design your pipe routes. And I did talk about this in part one, but I felt it was good to put in again in case people had missed that. Is that in the, in the options area of the product, you can set your default save. For example, you have migration, which if the files were older, maybe you have 2020 and 2021, and you wanted to just save the assembly file in 2021 for benchmark purposes. Maybe you did not want to save the files, the part files coming up because you needed to have them in 2020 or whatever release they were made from. Setting that to a no, do not save, will allow you from overwriting those. It's kind of a good feature because obviously if you do overwrite the file and it goes to 2021, you are able to open it back up in 2020, but it becomes a derived component or what I refer to as a pseudo dumb solid. So just be aware of that. User edits are pretty straightforward. API changes, if you had any iLogic or anything that forced a change in the background, manual updates, so on and so forth with properties. File resolution, if you had a part come in from a different location, it allows you to save that path. Some neat features. And then down the bottom, it actually just gives you the information on why these parts or assemblies are being saved. The new save state will give you some explanation of why that was being required. And with that, I am going to go ahead and show you the video for the assembly files. All right, and then again, just to talk about real briefly, that assembly file you saw on the screen was about 1,500 unique parts and about 9,000 occurrences in there. So it's a really large model. The nice thing is that it was rotating and able to select parts relatively quickly. And this is again the performance increase that the team has worked on. So what I'll talk about next here is the drawing creation or the IDW or DWG improvements, some neat things in here, hopefully makes your life a little bit easier. The first thing I'd like to talk about here is the assembly of referenced parts. In 2020, what it allowed you to do is, as you see the dialog box over on the right, it allowed you to select the reference parts as reference parts or as parts. There was no shading ability to this. And on the left side of the dialog box, the new improvements are you now have the shaded abilities. You can shade the part or shade it as referenced edges. Again, the other thing that's a side note here is when you're usually toggling on the reference parts, sometimes the drawing view gets truncated. It's a matter of just modifying the margins of that view to get the referenced information to be shown. The other new feature I thought was a good time saver is in the UI, there's a new automatic centerline for the views. In 2020, this was not available to you, but what it allows you to do is after your views are populated, you can see there over on the right, with a simple command, you can actually toggle on what it applies to. The dialog box is there on the right, and you have holes, fillets, circular revolutions, revolve. There's also part bends and punched tools. So depending on what is pushed in, and you do a crossing window to select multiple views, it will intelligently grab all that information. And if you were to look at that part, the circular base has the 3 holes punched in it. I wouldn't expect anybody to do this, but if you actually set a sketch, say perpendicular to the diameter in there, and instead of punching a circle down through it, you decided to go in there with a rectangle and revolve it so it made a hole. This tool will actually pick that up because it is a revolved feature. So some interesting things there and how this picks up, but again, it will just quickly cascade and put your center lines in there. There is a command that actually allows you to extend the center line mark outside the geometry. But again, it just quickly throws this information in there and you're able to dimension to it. So if you were to do this one by one, it's probably take you quite some time to quickly put all these center lines in that are needed. The other one that I want to talk about here is allows for the need not to create a separate style that has a diameter symbol already preset. So in the past, if you were to have a view that was a cylindrical object and on a side view, you would, in better terms, see a rectangle. Inventor now has the intelligence that it knows that that rectangle is a revolved feature or extruded circle, however the case may be, and it automatically will put the diameter symbol in the view. Again, saving time on creating a separate dimension style for that, or quickly adding an override to each one of those dimensions. Kind of a quick little time saver there. The other couple features that they put in here is that they stuck the measure tool back into the IDW DWG environment. It allows you to do the measure command inside the drawing views. If the drawing view is set to a different scale, it's still going to give you the true value of the distance that you are picking. The other option over on the right is the ability to copy tables. If you have ever put a general table into an IDW or DWG file, it didn't allow you to right-click and copy on it. You actually had to go back into the command and reset up all the parameters you want, go ahead and drop it back in. So again, you know, a little bit of a time saver allows you to just quickly copy and paste into the same file, excuse me, the same sheet, or if you actually had multiple sheets, you could copy into one sheet and then paste into another. And with that, I'll just go ahead and show you the video for this. All right, and the last area I'd like to talk about, because I'd like to leave some time for questions coming up, is basically going through the frame generator information. And what's nice is that talking about the default file naming, just to kind of show you up here in the upper left dialog box is the application options, and the file tab is where you'll notice that the file naming defaults are set. And again, the dialog box that's just below that on the right shows you the file naming defaults, and as you hit the plus signs next to these is where you can actually pull in the parameters that you want to use for that information. And there's also a reset to default if it is needed to happen. So with the file generator itself, it is also a properties palette that you can allow you to dock, again, saving you time on real estate, saving you really clicks and picks, because of it allows you to stay in the command instead of constantly exiting out and coming back in. The preset filters that are over on the right side of the dialog box can be set. These are basically the channels or members that you would more frequently use. And over on the left basically allows you to set preset information to populate all of the picks and clicks underneath it. So again, if there were certain models with certain settings, it allows you to go ahead and make a preset selection for that, saving you time. There's also new preview and zoom tools that are in here. If any of you have worked in Frame Generator in the past, it was kind of difficult. Once you place a member, you weren't sure if it had the right node. If you weren't sure if it was, kind of aligned, you'd have to kind of zoom in and then go back in and edit the member and kind of move it around. Again, the properties palette will allow you to use these zooming tools, and in the upper right dialog box, you'll see under the insert frame in blue, there's a no preset, and just underneath that, the zoom. And those are the three tools right there. The first icon on the left allows you to zoom up, and then the in and out zooms will allow you to manipulate, how the member is shown. So again, it's keeps you in the command, allows you to quickly zoom up, and it does do a pseudo look at the one of the ends of the members. And clicking on those little glyphs that you see, the little circles, will reset the insertion point, and then dragging on the arrow, left click and hold on the arrows that are in the lower right, lower left, is where you can actually rotate the member. One other new feature, it allows you to trim to a curved frame member, which is really nice. You can see here that there's a member that's curved. You've got a bunch of members that are going into it, and picking on the inside face, you're able to trim to it. Again, really nice feature, long overdue. There's also new reuse functions. Reuse is kind of clunky. I think when they first introduced it, they, like any other new tool, they kind of introduce it, they find out really how they can improve it, and then 1 or 2 releases later, you'll see features get really robust around that. And I think reuse was something that they really had to look at and rework. Again, it became a properties palette. Again, moving the dialog box outside the screen. Love that. And this allows you to now basically use a window crossing or window itself, and you can select all the geometry that it finds, that it feels that piece will conform to, and it will quickly drop those pieces in there. Then you can click on each one of those pieces and then use the zooming tools to reorient and align the members as you need. Again, really nice feature. People using frames should really like this. And then there's also some templates around notching that they've made. Again, the information around the notching, the gaps, the offsets, if there's certain ways you need the frame to be notched, it allows you to create custom templates around these. Again, making it really nice time feature save. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and show you the video. All right, I appreciate your time and all this. We've come to pretty much the area where we're looking for questions.
Folks, if you have any questions, be sure that you're asking them in the questions box in your control panel. We'll give folks a couple minutes to ask questions if you have any.
And just to re-add real quick, if there's anything on these videos that you've seen, you start to play around with, and if there's some questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to get that stuff answered for you.
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely, like Don said, just piggybacking off of that, you can definitely contact us either through our website, you can give us a call, or through email. And we'd be more than happy to answer any kind of questions that you may have. I don't see any questions being asked. So if that's the case, folks, again, you can definitely reach out to us. We're also on social media if you want to ask us any questions. But if we don't have any questions, yeah, we have no questions in our question box. So we can just wrap up the webinar here. Unless, Don, you have anything else you'd like to touch upon?
No, I think I'm good. I appreciate everybody's time and looking at this.
Thank you so much, everyone. We hope that you have a safe weekend, and we hope to see you at our next Power Hour. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great one. Thank you, Don, as well.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.